Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news this Sunday morning. Always one of my favourite shows because we do in the UK get different journalists who work for the Sunday papers, so we get different stories that they've been accumulating during the week. We've got updates on Cody Gakpo as a quick deal is being reported and a deal is close and he's heading to Manchester United, etc. We've also got talks on Rafael Leao. Apparently United are interested in him, Kim Min-jae. And we've got quite a few updates on Manchester United's takeover bid with a UK outlet this morning talking that Liverpool are in talks with two Middle East owners who are interested in buying them. Does that make you feel nervous? Does that make you feel okay? Does that make does that make you worried that Liverpool might get the pick of the better owners before we do? Remember, the Glazers are in charge. Gary Neville's spoken about what he thinks should happen. And we'll talk about another interesting article from James Ducker talking about the Premier League need to stop a leveraged buyout, which is what happened with the Glazers. They need to stop anybody getting hold of the club in debt or with taking dividends out, etc., etc. I think that's a bit of a red flag, but I think it's nothing we need to worry about, which we've spoken about a few times before. So let's fly straight into the show. Takeover bridge, says John. Clear my throat a little bit there. I think that with the interesting thing is for me when we look at this situation, well, we're going to start off with the transfer news first of all, and I'm quite encouraged that we are moving towards this. I think last week we were still very much talking about the fallout from the Ronaldo interview. I feel that the takeover and the fact that we're moving away from that Ronaldo interview has sort of buried that. I mean, in a different world, I think we'd be talking about this massive offer that Ronaldo's had from Saudi Arabia. But the reality is, I don't think anybody really cares. We've moved on from Ronaldo. He's left. He's got what he wanted. Ten Hag's got what he wanted. And us as fans have to move on from that. And I do wish Ronaldo all the best. If England don't win the World Cup, I'd quite like him to win it. But we're moving on as a club, and we are getting closer towards the return of football. We're getting closer towards the transfer window, and really it's 4 and a bit weeks until the transfer window opens. You've got to be working on these deals, so I do expect to hear and listen more strong links with Manchester United to people like Cody Gakpo, and we had quite a lot yesterday, which we're going to go through now. Look, there were some stories yesterday coming out that Manchester United have agreed terms with Cody Gakpo, and a couple of people have jumped on this, and with all due respect, it's not coming from anybody I respect, and respect in the football industry is earned from not guessing, not trying to be first, and not trying to do it for likes or retweets. Respect in football transfers comes from actually having good sources and actually having the balls to say, this is my name, this is what I think. And we can all think of many people like that, whether it's David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, whoever, there's quite a few. What was coming out yesterday was coming out from sources that they will be right sometimes, but a lot of it's just guesswork. And there is absolutely no way that Cody Gakpo has agreed personal terms with Manchester United and the deal is done. That's not what's happened. And I can categorically tell you that quite simply from a couple of WhatsApps I sent yesterday afternoon. What could happen is that people are guessing that the Gakpo deal is done. I would be quite happy to say now, if I wanted to be a bit of an arsehole, Gakpo's going to be a United player. I've been told it. I've been told Gakpo's going to be a United player in January. And then when he is a player in January, I can say 27th of November. Look what I said. It's a pure guess because it's not done. It's not done. What you can say is that Cody Gakpo, and look, ESPN Netherlands has said this, that Cody Gakpo is definitely leaving PSV. They know that. He's gone. He will be playing in the Premier League, and at the moment Manchester United are leading the race. So that's coming from ESPN Netherlands. So look, everybody knows he's going to go. Rob Dawson, ESPN, has said that Gakpo is the player that Ten Hag wants. He's also looking at Rafael Leao, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can also take what we already know. We've spoken about this on Friday afternoon. Cody Gakpo wanted to come to Manchester United in August. Ten Hag wanted him in August. And United didn't do the deal because they kept Ronaldo. And Gakpo was the replacement for Ronaldo that Ten Hag told Manchester United he wanted. They've got the same agent. We were in talks. It's not like, that's a player I quite like. See if you can get him. We did do some groundwork with this deal. There was conversations and it just didn't happen. So picking those conversations up is quite easy. you could hypothetically say that Cody Gakpo has agreed to come to Man United because he was speaking to us in August. But obviously, logically, in relation to a January transfer deal, he's playing well for the Netherlands in the World Cup. PSV is not at PSV at the moment, and there will be no deal or conversation going on at the moment with the player. There may be something going on with the agent. But look, he's a player that United need to sign. We have got to get him. We're favourites to get him. He is going to leave PSV. And I think at this stage there'd be a massive amount of disappointment if he didn't end up being a Manchester United player. And there's a lot to be positive about it, but things can happen. If he keeps scoring goals for the Netherlands, I suspect, World Cup or not, there will be other clubs that come in and that could cause us a problem. I really hope we do sign Gakpo, says Simp. I think he's perfect for United. Also, love you, Mark. Thank you very much, mate. I want Leao as well as Felix, says Callum. Is Gakpo that good, though, says Tabask. I think that with regards to Gakpo, and we spoke about Memphis yesterday morning, if I've got a choice between Memphis and Gakpo, I feel that Memphis is a risk because he's older and he's coming back and he's not really been playing for Barcelona. And I feel that Gakpo is a player that at 23, he's shining, he's done really well for PSV, he's doing well for the Netherlands, he's got a lot of developments in him and his career is on the up. And that is the player that I think Man United need to buy. They're symbolic. You've got one player that's well known in the football industry, hasn't really achieved the talent he had as a young player, and he's now coming towards the back end of his career, and Barcelona don't want him. And then you've got another player that's at the start of his career that's really exciting, that's got gears to go through, and can be a really can get better and better. Now, which player do you want? Do you want the player that's coming towards the end, who's really not making the most out of his career and take a risk? Or do you want to go with the player that's at the start and has got gears to go through? And I think United need to go for the Gakpos of this world. We do. If we're building a future, we need players that are going to be part of that future. And I think Ten Hag, or as I said yesterday, has already shown that when it comes to transfers, he's been very good when he's been allowed to go and get the players that are going to develop what we've got. And I know Eriksen and Casemiro are a bit older, but they're still players that have that mentality of achieving and are going to improve this team. And I think Gakpo's the right signing if it's the player that Erik Ten Hag wants. And it's very simple for me. I mean, I didn't want Ronaldo to leave, but if Ten Hag wants that to happen, it has to happen. I didn't really, Ten Hag wanted De Jong, he got Casemiro. Ten Hag wanted Timber, he got Martinez. His first choice he didn't get. His second choice he goes for something, and you've got to back the manager, because at the moment he's not missed. He's not missed with his transfers, has he? Dublin Sovereign Wealth Fund says, breaking news, we are still in talks with the Glazers and possibly purchasing the club. Stay true. Love your work, Mark. Much love from the Dublin Sovereign Wealth Fund. Happy holidays to you as well. Thanks, Dublin Sovereign Wealth Fund. Why can't we start acting like what big clubs do? Sign Gakpo and do the loan deal with Felix, puts us in a strong position ahead of the takeover deal, says Dan the Man. I think we'd all like to see that, Dan the Man. And are we looking to sign right backs in January, says Amanda. You raise a good point, Amanda, which I do want to come back to a little bit later on. I mean, we've got a video about top 5 right backs for January, but it has gone a little bit quiet. Apart from yesterday, it was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Plettigol because he was saying loads of stuff. It could have been ESPN. But there was a story yesterday I saw amongst all the news and the World Cup games I was watching that Wan-Bissaka will be leaving on loan in January, and he's played his last game for Man United. I mean, Wan-Bissaka's going to go. We have got Delo. I mean, Man United are playing a game a week on Wednesday. We're playing Cadets, so we've got a watch along a week on Wednesday for a I mean, a lot of players won't be playing, but one player that probably will be playing is Brandon Williams. I've seen him in Dubai doing some training pictures on his Instagram. He might get a chance at Manchester United, so maybe we don't go for a right back and we give Brandon Williams a chance. Personally, I think that would be a waste of time, but for a short-term thing until the end of the season, he can probably do a job as long as Delo doesn't get injured. I don't think he's good enough, to be honest with you. And most of his career, he's told us he's a left back, and now you might want to try it as a right back. But I mean, he's a decent player, and I think he can definitely fill in till the end of the season. Personally, I think we should be buying a right back, but if we're not selling Wan-Bissaka and he's going on loan, I think that's starting to close the door on a right back, if I'm honest, and I think it's a good observation. Mudryk, we are getting the Ukrainian gig, says Zane. Yeah, I think he is going to Arsenal, you're right, mate. And hi, Mark, I think we need a false 9 as our strikers always do a graveyard shift, says Tom. Yeah, and look, João Felix as a loan deal probably is available, but I can't see us doing both. G-Man says, Gakpo looks okay, but wouldn't be disappointed if we signed for someone else. Kudos is the player I want from Ajax. Thank you very much there. Morning, Mark. Merry Christmas. Thanks for a great year of coverage on Manchester United, says the Tricia. I mean, it is still the 27th of November. It's not quite Christmas yet, says the guy who's got trees up and a Christmas jumper on. Actually, that reminds me, the last day to order your Christmas jumpers, if you want them before Christmas, is the 4th of December. So you've got literally a few days. So if you are looking to get one of our Christmas jumpers, we've got this one, and obviously we got the knitted one. Then get your orders in. The link's in the description, United Stand Shopify. And don't forget, it is still the Black Friday sale on the United Stand website. Everything on there, apart from Christmas jumpers, reduced by 25%. The butcher, hoodie, t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of stuff. So check that out. It runs out at midnight tonight. So if you want to get 25% off, get on that website. Links in the description. Just to summarise on Gakpo, I think we're going to get stories. I think we are favourites to sign him. I think he is going to leave PSV, and it's a deal that Manchester United should do, but we're not going to get breaking news. Man United have completed a deal for Gakpo in the next week or two, not while he's at the World Cup. So just be careful of people who are trying to guess and do it early. I mean, I've seen a couple of other people that I don't even acknowledge, a couple of Twitter accounts that clearly have got no information, who pretend that they do. And I'm not even talking about websites here. I'm talking about, complete and utter nonsense, saying that Gakpo's already done the deal and it's done. And it's like, how's he done that then? Is he had a little, he's flown back from Qatar to Manchester to do his medical and, had a chat with PSV, and now he's on his way back for the third group game. He hasn't signed any deal. Nothing is done, but we did do quite a bit of work in August. So it's quite an easy deal to pick up, and we've got a good relationship with PSV. People are saying, what's your percentage that Gakpo signs for Manchester United? I have to be very careful of this because it will get clipped. I would say at the moment, let's be a little bit Gareth Southgate. Let's be a little bit conservative and pragmatic, not too part the bus. I'm not going to go 50-50. I'd say 70% chance that we're going to sign him. Mainly because he's the player that Ten Hag wants. We did do some work with him in August. PSV do want to sell him, and he's available in January. So I think 70% is reasonable, but it's Manchester United. We're Manchester United. You just don't know what United are going to do. But yeah, I'd say 70% at the moment. Cap or Dice is 40. Let us know in the chat what you think. Bryn's 75% as well. I have got a bit of other transfer news. I want to talk to you about Leao. I want to talk to you about Kim Min-jae. But I want to talk to you about the takeover, because I appreciate that the takeover for me is really important, and it's important for you. And as a news show, I do try and start off with a big news story that's not to do that. But there is some takeover update that I want to bring in from a few different areas. So there's no story at the moment about defined favourites, about who's going to buy Manchester United. There's no story about he's in, she's out, shake it all about. There's none of that. It's still very early days, but there is a couple of updates I can bring you. First of all is the Daily Mail are saying that Liverpool are in talks with 2 Middle Eastern buyers for a £3 billion sale. Not surprised by that. I must admit, when I read anything about Liverpool, I do get a bit envious, because I'm like, get out. You're not opening your presents, we're having our presents. I don't know whether you ever did that with any siblings when you were younger, but I used to lock the door to the living room and put a chair there so that none of my sisters or brothers could get in to open their presents, and I'd open mine first. It was just a little tradition I had. But put headphones on and you can't hear them banging against the door. That's the thing I would say. But no, seriously, I only did it for a couple of minutes so I could open my big presents in peace. But what I want to say is that I am jealous when I read about Liverpool. Of course I am, because I want us to get the best buy. But as I've said before, Liverpool's owners have come out and basically said that they want to sell Liverpool to retain their legacy, and they want to sell Liverpool to somebody who's going to take them to the next level to compete with Man City. The Glazers haven't said that. The Glazers are just selling, and the Glazers are greedy. So we have got that issue where Liverpool potentially are going to sell because they want to sell to somebody to take them to the next level. They have won the Champions League. They have won the league. They want someone to take them to the next level. Our owners probably just want to sell to make money. Hi, Mark. What are your thoughts on Edwards as sporting director, regardless of takeover? I think it's a bad idea, Green Bull. Why are we looking at Edwards as a director of football when we are looking to get new owners? We shouldn't be appointing anyone now. Director of football, chief scout, nobody should be being appointed at the moment. It's a complete and utter waste of time to give anyone a contract at the moment, bar players, when you've got new owners coming in. Because a new owner might come in and go, we've already know who we want as sporting director. To beat rich clubs to titles has been our greatest achievement. Going back to Blackburn, to be successful is about recruitment from top to bottom. Get that right and you win things. It's our times now, says Cy Williams. So Liverpool have been linked with a couple of Middle Eastern owners. I am absolutely confident that Liverpool will end up with a good owner. I think that's the strategy of Liverpool's current owners. They know they're going to make a profit, and I think that they are proud of what they've done of Liverpool over the last 10 years. They've took them from nowhere near winning a title to winning title, competing for titles. And I think that they want to continue that legacy by making a profit, but also giving it to somebody who's going to compete with Man City. I think Liverpool's manifesto is clear. They haven't got owners who are about exclusively dividends, debt. They've got owners that have actually improved the football club. And I think Liverpool owners will sell to somebody that on paper wants to take them to the next level. So I think Liverpool will go to good owners. Manchester United, it's a bit different. Now, Gary Neville said yesterday that he wants a clear, defined manifesto from any person who's buying Manchester United that the fans are happy with. And Gary's living in a fucking dream world, because that is not what owners we have. And Gary knows it. We have got owners who bought us on debt and have taken dividends out every single year. There's an interesting thing I just wanted to read you about this. You might not like this, but this is very interesting. James Ducker put this out yesterday, and he put it out via the Swiss Ramble blogger. Since 2005, this is what the Glazers have cost Manchester United. 1.1 billion. 750 million in interest payments on debt. 750 million in interest payments on debt. 147 million in debt repayments. 166 million in dividends. That is not an owner that's going to think, let's have a manifesto for the fans, who's the best person to buy Manchester United. They have literally, evidentially, bought this club and bled it dry. They are not going to sell this club and go, this owner's best for Manchester United, but it's $1 billion less than this crap owner. They are going to go with what is best for them. If we're lucky, we will get a good owner who is the best bidder. That's all we can hope for. A manifesto of bidders talking to fans about what's best for us. We ain't Chelsea and we ain't Liverpool. This is the Glazers, and only if the Glazers decide they're interested in the legacy of Man United will we get a manifesto. So I think we can ask for one, but I don't think we're going to get one, because the Glazers have been bad owners and they're selling the club. So, we're not in a strong position as fans to be going, the next owners have to be a manifesto. I think we'll hear about good owners. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will probably put it out publicly. I'd be a good owner. I'm from the area. I'm a Manchester United fan. This is what I would do. This is what I would do. But we're a little bit powerless. What I would do, and this is only an idea, what I would do, I would implore the Manchester United Supporters Trust, the 58, the Red Army, and this community to if we get wind of a bad owner, we actually do something about it, because a deal isn't done like that. And I think that what Gary Neville said is a bit naive, but I hope he means what I think, is that an owner will not buy Man United like that and be in charge tomorrow. We will know who the new owner is going to be. And if that new owner doesn't present a manifesto of what they're going to do, and we have suspicions that they may end up being a little bit like the Glazers, then you bring the protests and everything back. We don't have to sit back and accept who the Glazers sell this club to if we don't like it. We can make it very, very clear that we don't like that ownership. But we're not going to have what Chelsea had, where it's an open process of 6 or 7 owners and we're all going, I quite like that one, but I like that one. So we've got to be... We're in the hands of the Glazers, really, and what we need is good reporting. What we need is good journalistic reporting on who are the favourites to buy Man United. And what we also need from the bidders is open transparency on what they're trying to do. because whether it's Middle Eastern, USA, British, wherever, if I was looking to buy Manchester United, I would be trying to put it out there publicly about what my plans are. So that's step one. Is there a big risk that new owners will fire Ten Hag and bring in someone else that suits their potential vision of Manchester United? Jacob, this is a question that we keep getting asked, and I would really put your minds at rest and say stop worrying about it, stop asking about it. It's the same as will we buy in January. As I said, if I'm going to try and sell a car tomorrow and my car's not very clean, am I going to go, can't be asked, I'm selling it anyway? No, I'm going to clean it because I want it to look at the best, to get the best price. And that's the same as buying in January. As for Ten Hag, he already is one of the best up-and-coming managers in Europe. Why would you come into Manchester United as a new owner and get rid of him? Like, it wouldn't make sense. And you also know that the fans are behind him. So I don't think Ten Hag is in a position where he's vulnerable because he's not been here long enough. So I don't think that would happen. But also, just in the article from James Ducker, he was mentioning how the Premier League must stop a leveraged buyout of Manchester United, which basically is buying us on debt, taking dividends out of the football club. I would put the fans' mind at ease and say that's not going to happen. We are not going to get bought by people who put us in debt and take dividends out of the football club. It won't happen. It won't happen because there's two reasons why it won't happen. One, this fan base has learnt the mistakes of the Glazer buyout. There was people who throughout the last 17 years, from day one to now, have valiantly been vocal about the ownership of the Glazers. And at different times over the 17 years, that voice has been loud and quiet, but it's always been shouting. There have been people from before the Glazers got hold of United saying this is a bad idea. And at different times, sometimes because we've finished outside the top four, sometimes because we've had a bad transfer window, Glazers out has gone like that, out like that over 17 years. But ultimately, everybody knows that they should have been louder from the start. I think if we ended up with another Glazer ownership, everyone would be loud from the start. Everyone would protest. Everyone would get at the sponsors. Everyone would try and get games cancelled because we already know what will happen if we have the wrong ownership. So we will not end up with an owner that comes in and with debt and tries to do dividends because the fan base has learnt from the Glazers that you have to be vocal, you have to do things from the very start. So it won't happen. Second thing, and the main reason it won't happen, is because we're not that club anymore. We're not ripe for picking. We're a rotten fruit. You can't pick Manchester United from the apple tree and go, what a beautiful, delicious, fruity, ripe apple that is. I'm going to eat that and I'm going to take it. We're not. We're a rotten apple on the floor that don't taste very nice at the moment. So, and what that means is when the Glazers bought Manchester United, they were the first to the party. Nobody really knew about what the Glazers or anyone else was going to do to the Premier League. The deal never should have been allowed to put us in debt, but it was. And then they took dividends out every year. And they were the first to do it. And at that point, Man United were the biggest club, arguably in the world, but certainly in England. We were winning things. We were making record revenues. We were ripe for picking, and the Glazers picked us. We are not now the biggest club in England. We are not anywhere near winning trophies. We are not making massive amounts of money. We have not got a big queue of sponsors. We have not got a stadium that is, like it was 17 years ago, the best ground in the country. We need investment. So we cannot be bought by the Glazers again. The Glazers wouldn't buy us now. They wouldn't do it because you can't make money. So the Premier League do need to step up. The Premier League need to make sure that responsible ownership, in the sense that you can't put a club into debt, you can't take dividends, those should be the rules. But I'm not concerned about United being owned by the Glazers again because we're not in that position anymore. So there will be people who talk about it and say, I'm a little bit worried about it, but no, I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. I don't. As I said, even if I was a Liverpool fan and I had the money to buy Man United and I really just wanted to run it into the ground and take money out of it, we're not going to. You're not going to. We've got the biggest wage bill in the league. We're hemorrhaging money. We're not making money. So whoever buys Manchester United are going to have a manifesto of putting money into the club anyway. And I get what Gary Neville's talking about, and I get what everyone's concerned about, but I'm 100% not concerned about the next owner being a problem like the Glazers. I'm not really that bothered about a manifesto, really. And a manifesto is, we're going to build a new stadium, we're going to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on the squad and the structure, we're going to invest in Manchester United. Everybody's going to do that because they have to do that. Manchester, why would you spend 6 billion on United and go, we're not building a new stadium, we're not spending money on the squad, and we're not spending money on the structure, we'll be fine. Like, it's like heading towards the iceberg and not turning. We will sink. Everybody who buys Man United is buying us for the status and the potential of taking us back to where we are. Even if someone buys us with the aim of making money in the future, they already know in the next 5 to 10 years they've got to invest. So everybody's manifesto is going to be that way, to spend money. And I'm comfortable with that. I'm just not comfortable with who the Glazers are going to pick. And that's that is a concern. So we'll see what happens. But two main things to take from this morning. One, yes, Liverpool could end up with better owners than us. They're cheaper and they've got owners who want to sell to somebody who's going to take them to the next level. But two, I don't think we need to worry about having bad owners at Manchester United because we're not in a position where someone can just buy us and make money out of us. And as much as it would be nice to have a bidding war and publicly know who wants us and what they're going to do, we don't need one bidder going, I'm going to build this stadium and I'm going to buy Mbappe. Well, I'm going to build this stadium and I'm going to buy Mbappe and Haaland. We don't need that sort of thing. That's what Barcelona and Real Madrid do with their presidency campaigns. We don't need that. We need what everyone's going to offer. We need the new stadium. And what I mean by new stadium is Old Trafford needs renovating, etc. We need massive investment in the structure and in the team over the next few years. And I think everyone's going to offer that. Otherwise, why would you buy Manchester United? If we're getting Glazers 2.0, then we're fucked, says Footy. Well, we won't. And why would we build a new stadium? Because Old Trafford is literally rotting. It's been left too long now. Yeah, I think some people either don't watch the show or don't realise what I'm saying. When I say build a new stadium, I don't mean necessarily build a new stadium. Everybody knows I want us to stay at Old Trafford. But build a new stadium still means staying at Old Trafford. Like, renovation of Old Trafford isn't just, replacing some metal and building a few seats. It will look new, but it will be the same place. Old Trafford, and I'm pretty sure everyone realises this, we've got two options with Old Trafford. We either knock it down and build a new stadium, or we knock parts of it down and build on the current stadium. And either way, it will look like a new stadium. It's not going to look like it looks now, even if we renovate the current one. It will need massive renovation. So new stadium is the word I'm using, but it doesn't mean we're going to I don't agree with leaving Old Trafford. I still want us to do Old Trafford, but it will look brand new even if we renovate it. Of course it will. It needs expanding, it needs restructuring, it needs renovating. So yeah, that's what I mean by that. We could do the Real Madrid option, says Bryn, exactly. And I just need to talk to you about Rafael Leao as well. So Leao has been linked to Manchester United a couple of times. ESPN mentioned it. I think it was Rob Dawson from ESPN actually who mentioned Leao. And I think he was mentioned as an option in January. Absolutely not. Not going to happen. Leao is a player that United are not going to sign. I'm sure we're interested. He is not a player that Man United are going to sign. He will not be leaving AC Milan in January for a start. He would be a summer signing. And if he was leaving AC Milan in January, he would be double the price that Gakpo's going for. This Leao player is on a different level to Gakpo in relation to what he will cost. I don't think he's necessarily a better player than Gakpo, but Leao is a player that's going to end up at Real Madrid or Liverpool or Man City or Chelsea or PSG. He is that level of player with that level of interest, and AC Milan know it. Now, the interesting thing with Leao is he's got 18 months left on his contract. So there is a deal that can be done there, but the deal for Leao will be done in the summer because that's when AC Milan will have to cash in. So, funnily enough, I think he'll be more expensive in January than he will be in the summer because there'll be 1 year left on the deal. I don't think it's in anybody's interest for him to be leaving in January. And he's out of the price tag. I think United would pay 40 million for Gakpo, but I don't think they'd pay 80 million for Leao in January. And also, Leao is very much a winger. And with Gakpo, the point is he can play up front. So I don't see Leao coming to Manchester United. I certainly am 100% sure we won't be signing him in January. So I like the player, I really do, but he's not going to be coming to Man United in January, and we need somebody in January. I wouldn't be opposed to a new stadium in the Trafford area and keep Old Trafford as a new training facility. It would have us really compete, in my opinion, says Lil. I mean, I don't want Old Trafford to get knocked down. If we build a new stadium and keep Old Trafford there, that would be great. But if you've ever been to Old Trafford, I don't know how you keep that as just a training facility, as a 75,000 capacity stadium. It would be odd to have Old Trafford left as a 75,000 capacity stadium and then build one next door that's 90. Yeah, I get what you mean. Old Trafford is our church as football goers, isn't it? But yeah, I can't see that happening. I think renovation or a new stadium is obviously going to be the way forward, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's the most likely option. We don't need another winger, says Sam. And yeah, I think with I'm trying to think what I was going to say. That I think I did read something yesterday that United and Ten Hag would like another winger, but I'm with you. We don't need another winger. You've got Rashford, who's best off the left. Sancho's a winger. Anthony's a winger, and Garnacho's a winger. So you've got 4 wingers. Why would you buy an £80 million winger? Now, we might need a winger when we've got a new buyer. Now, the thing that people don't talk about, and this might blow your mind a little bit, Stonesby, thank you for being a member for 7 months, by the way. One thing that might blow your mind a little bit is a mindset that we're not used to. If we do get new owners, you know all this talk about Maguire needs to go, Fred needs to go, and Bruno, anybody really. I know I started off with the obvious ones, but I suppose I throw Sancho into that. If in a year's time, if next summer Ten Hag speaks to the new owners, if we've got new owners, and says, I've had a year with Sancho, he's a good player, but he's not my player. I didn't buy him. I can't. He's not going to work for me. Normally, the Glazers would go, well, he's on a massive wage. We paid a lot of money for him. He's only 2 years into his contract. He's staying. If you've got new owners, they might do what Chelsea do, or Real Madrid do, or Man City do, and go, fine, leave it with us. Who do you want? We'll get that sorted, and we will get rid of him. And that's what Chelsea do. That's what Man City do. That's what Real Madrid do. The manager says, I've tried with this player. I didn't buy him, and he's not part of my plans. And whether he's an £80 million player or a £40 million player, the club go, fine, you didn't buy him, so we're not going to we're not going to say, well, you bought him, you better get something out of him. You didn't buy him. That was the previous manager. Who do you want? And then leave that with us. He won't be here in 2 months' time. That is what should happen with new ownership that we're not used to under the Glazers, because the Glazers list every player as an asset. And if Ten Hag walked in the summer and went, look, I've had a year with Harry Maguire. He's my 4th choice centre-back. I've got no use for him. I want a new centre-back. The Glazers would say, no, you've got to keep him, right? New owners who want the best for United would go, absolutely no problem. You didn't buy him. I can see it doesn't suit us. We'll find a buyer for him. Don't worry about that. Who do you want? I want you to focus on the football side. That's what we need to get to with a new owner, because that's what Man City do. That's what Real Madrid do. That's what PSG do. That's what Chelsea do. And how many titles have they won and Champions Leagues are they winning? That's what a competent football club does. That's what a new owner needs to do for Manchester United. We do not need a new owner to come in and go, well, he's cost us a lot of money. No. So we might need a new winger, but not at the moment. We might need a new winger if Ten Hag says to the new owner, look, I can't work with Sancho. You need to sell him for me. But right here, right now, we don't need a winger. We don't need a winger. We need a forward. So I would say Gakpo's the one to go for in January. I do like Leao, but let's see where we are in the summer with him. I don't think we need Leao at the moment. I really don't. And it is a bit of a wake-up call, because we're not used to that type of ownership, but that's the ownership you have to have. Remember, Ten Hag is building a picture with jigsaw pieces from four different pictures. It's a mess. I think we've still got some Van Gaal signings. He's definitely got some Mourinho signings, and he's got some Solskjaer signings. If he says to a new owner, I don't want this player. I didn't buy them. It's not my fault. We spent £50 million or £80 million or £74 million. I've tried. They're not my type of player. If I can walk in and say, I don't need James Garner, and the club goes, that's fine because we can get 15 million for him, why can't I say it about somebody that the club bought wrongly before I even came here? I don't want this player. And then the new owner should say, that's fine, we'll get rid of him. Who do you want? That's how you be successful. United have spent years. Mourinho had to do it. Van Gaal had to do it. Ollie had to do it. And now Ten Hag's got to do it. You're not selling that player even though you didn't buy them. You've got to work with them. And that's a shit way to run a football club. So I hope one of the things that we probably don't discuss is that a new owner comes in and says to Ten Hag, anybody in that squad you don't want, let's clear them out. Yeah, we'll take the hit. We've took that. We've worked that into our workings. Because whoever's taken over Manchester United, not only should they be looking at the cost of a stadium and the infrastructure and what they want to spend on transfers, they also need to factor in the fact that we've got some players that we spent a lot of money on that are going to have to go for virtually nothing. They need to factor in those losses as well. If I was the new owner of United, I would have it factored in 300 million quid loss on players. I would be looking, well, and we all know who they are. We spent a lot of money on him. We'll never get anywhere near that back. And they've got a lot left on their contract. Write it off. Go. And if that happens, we're laughing. It's not just about buying players and building a new stadium. I really hope that the new owners factor in 300 million quid to pay off and sell players that we spend too much on wages on and we spent too much on the signing fee and really clear out, and then it gets exciting. While we're on it, thoughts on Sancho case. I like Jadon Sancho. I still think he's got a future, but I think the next 6 months are going to be really interesting with him, and I hope it works out for him. I know that he's a really talented player, and I know that there are a few issues going on, but let's give him 6 months and look at it in the summer. But if he's not performing in the summer, 2 years, if Ten Hag doesn't want him, you've got to let him go. If we can sit here and say, this is the lesson. If we can sit here and say, Ten Hag doesn't want Ronaldo, it's time to part ways, and that's our player of the year, a legend of the club and top scorer last year, then we can definitely say about any player, if Ten Hag doesn't want him after a year, let's get rid. Nobody is above it. Ronaldo ended up being the sacrificial lamb I spoke about in May. I didn't want him to be, but he was. Anybody should be kicked out of that club in the summer if Ten Hag doesn't want him, regardless of whether we've got the name on the shirt or whatever. Okay, we're heading for a morning watch-along. It's Japan. Remember, in the World Cup, if Japan beat Costa Rica at 10 o'clock, Germany are basically going out tonight unless they can beat Spain. So big watch-alongs on That's Football. Join us throughout the day over there. And don't forget, if you want to get your United Stand Christmas jumpers or merch, we've got 25% off on non-Christmas jumpers until midnight tonight. Get your orders in. United Stand Shopify. Link is in the description. I'll see you over on the watch-alongs, and take care.